Why is it so important to revisit this point in history, and how far do you think we still have to go on the journey that this film documents?
I think it's important because Dr. King was an exponent of a very effective attack on prejudice, and that attack was the use of love. And it can sound trite, it can sound soft, but actually it's incredibly powerful. And you see that evidenced in this film, and you see evidenced in the world we live in today. We are in the midst of racial unrest, a protest again. But what I'm really happy about is a lot of it is peaceful, and I think as a result it will be effective. I think it's the most effective period in the civil rights movement under Dr. King's tenure. I mean, those marches happened from January 1965 to March 65, and by August the law had changed. You know, that would be a tough thing to get done today, and I think it was a very dramatic period. You know, people died, there were marches, King and LBJ locked heads over this. It was just a very dramatic period, which lends itself to a feature film rendition.
How much of a validation is it to have the film nominated for a Best Picture award at the Oscars?
Huge, huge. I mean, the Oscars obviously are the peak of in terms of accolades for film, and so for us to be in and amongst some really special films is a great thing. The biggest challenge really is joining the dots between who we think we know and who he actually was. We see these speeches, we see him give interviews, we know he was a civil rights leader, but who he was behind closed doors, I also had to go and find, and they couldn't be two different people. So that I think was the biggest challenge. Huge responsibility, not least because he's not only someone who lived, but he's someone who people really deify, someone who people admire, and quite rightly so. So my job was to make sure that there was nothing salacious or exploitative, but also it had to be as truthful as I could make it. I think it can be crippling to go in thinking of him as an icon or a historical figure, but to go in and think of him as a man primarily, at the end of the day, that's my job. That's what makes it compelling and revelatory for the audience. But what they can see is a film that, even though it's set 50 years ago, vibrantly speaks to the time we're in today. You may think you know who Dr. King is or was, but I almost guarantee that there will be revelatory things upon seeing this film.